Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. Today is Zois Chanukah, which is the last day of Chanukah. Last night we lit all 8 candles in the menorah, and some have a tradition through the day to keep lighting it and without a blessing, and until tonight is Chanukah. Zot Chanukah means this is Chanukah. And the rabbi said the reason why it's called Zot Chanukah is because what is the essence of Chanukah? It's when all 8 candles are illuminated. When you dispel all the darkness, when there is no darkness left, when the light has illuminated everything. And that's the ultimate Chanukah, which is the 8th night, which represents 7, represents nature, and 8 represents the supernatural, the powers that are beyond nature. So let us hope that with this 8th day of Chanukah, we dispel all the darkness and illuminate light in the world. You know, a couple of days ago, Jimmy Carter passed away. And there's been all these eulogies and articles about this remarkable president who was 100 years old. But of course we know otherwise. And just because he died doesn't change the fact of the terrible, terrible things he did to Israel, which we'll speak about in a minute. But let's go to the portion first. So in this week's Torah portion, we read about Joseph sending his brothers to go get his father, Jacob. And it's interesting because when Joseph first reveals himself to his brothers, it says, Vayochlu vayishtu, they ate and they drank. And the rabbis say, what does it mean they drank? And the rabbis say they drank wine together. That from when Joseph was sold into slavery, the brothers went into mourning. And they refused to drink wine for 22 years until they would find their brother. And at that moment when they found Joseph, when they were reunited with Joseph in Egypt, they finally began to drink wine again. Now, when Joseph sent to bring his father, he sent him gifts. And one of the gifts he sent him, Rashi says, was old, aged wine. Why aged wine? Well, we all know that aged wine is delicious. Anyone that enjoys wine knows that the more you age good wine, the better it can become. But also we read in Ethics of Our Fathers tells us that don't look Don't look at the bottle, but look at what's in it. Sometimes you have a bottle that looks like it's aged, but inside it's newer wine. And sometimes you have vice versa. Sometimes you have a bottle that looks like it's new, but it's delicious aged wine. And the message that Joseph was sending to his father was, listen, the brothers are going to come. They're going to tell you, I'm the viceroy of Egypt. I dress that way. I look like an Egyptian. But don't judge the book by its cover. Or don't judge the bottle by the wine. Know that I am the old Joseph who left you. And I have the same values that I had then. And in fact, it says that when Jacob saw the wagons that Joseph had sent, he came back. Jacob began to live again. And the rabbis say that the wagons were a message, because the last thing that Joseph studied with his father Jacob was about the Eglah Rufa, which is something we learn about in Deuteronomy. And what he was telling his father was, this is what we learned last. I want you to know that I still remember it, I didn't forget it, and I stayed the same. And the message was that my values are the same old Joseph. So don't look at the bottle by the way it looks, but by what's in it. And the same is true in everything in life. Think about Jimmy Carter and how horrendous he was, not just as a president, but afterwards. Firstly, as a president, he, of course, didn't allow the Shah to take on and to attack Khamenei, who's the worst destabilizer in the Middle East in 50 years. And it was because of him, in a certain sense, that Khamenei came to power and was able to have that grip, which he still has, on Iran, which hopefully will soon be a revolution and the Iranian regime will fall. But it was much in responsibility to Jimmy Carter. But this is worse. In his later years, in the name of peace, in the name of trying to further advance good things, Jimmy Carter met with Hamas, the first American president or ex-president to meet with a terrorist organization. He refused to meet with the sitting prime minister of Israel. He said he'd rather meet with Hamas, and we all know what Hamas did and who they are. And he wrote a book called calling Israel apartheid state, all that it's begun since then, the BDS, and calling Israel apartheid, Jimmy Carter had a lot to do with it. And in fact, also, he called on Obama, President Obama, to take Hamas off of the terrorist list. Imagine, Hamas, who butchered 1,200 people, raped, killed, murdered babies, children. He was the one who asked them to take him off the terrorist list. So don't judge a book by its cover. Joseph was not supposed to be judged by the bottle, but by the wine that was in it. It was aged and delicious because he kept his values. And Carter, as a Jew, we remember how devastating and bad he was for Israel and the Jewish people, and we don't forget that. Today also, in Israel, Israel revealed, remarkably, the raid on September 8th in Syria, when the Syrian government was still in, and Israel went into a mountain with 120 Shaldag officers, the top of the IAF, the Israeli Air Force, and they went for 3 hours, and they went into this mountain where Iran had built this place that was going to produce 300 precision missiles that could go hundreds of kilometers, and it was about ready for production. And Israel went in with 120 Shaldags, and they literally rigged the whole place and exploded it like a mini earthquake, destroying the whole place, and got every single soldier out without any casualties. Remarkable miracles that we're seeing now. In any case, remember what Joseph taught us. Don't judge a bottle of wine by its cover. Remember, today is Zot Chanukah. It's a time for miracles. It's a time for beautiful light that will dispel all the darkness and will illuminate the world with pure and true light. And hopefully it happens speedily nowadays. Have a happy Chanukah.